Coming up to 20 minutes away from 10. Let's get unscrewed now. Great way to do it on Fridays with Jason Bryant and a bottle of wine in the Kiwi studio. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, the sound of romance first thing in the morning.
Yeah. Let's get straight into the wine. What is it today?
It is a Merlot from Gimlet Gravels, Hawke's Bay.
Yep.
Which is 800 hectares of land, of which the vineyard, or winery I should say, of Craggy Range own 100, so they own an eighth of Gimlet Gravels.
I see. I would never look at the Gimlet Gravels bit because that's right at the bottom of the label. I would just see Craggy Range.
Yeah, but Gimlet Gravels is for New Zealand, for red wine especially, other than Pinot Noir, is a very significant area. Also, it's got the GI, which is graphical indicator. It means it's kind of designated as very, very good, grape growing kind of land. And it's pretty hard. It's kind of old alluvial kind of riverbed.
Yeah.
The vines really get stressed, so you do have to water them, and which will be a challenge in the future, I think. So So
as well as climate, there's the
climate change and stuff like that, and more stress on water supply, drying up of aquifers and stuff like that. I should imagine that. Yeah, there'll be a lot of stress about dry farming and stuff like that. But by that time, they may have actually got their big taproot right the way down and be able to survive by themselves. Yeah. So it used to be a kind of industrial wasteland almost as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was there?
They've had a rubbish tip. They've had kind of stock car type things, speedway type things there, an airfield, and everything. But now it's kind of all cleaned up, and it's now a vineyard, a large area of vineyard. It sits next to. It wasn't the Tarawa Triangle. Now it's called Bridge Park Triangle or something.
The fact that it's in a triangle, that means a good thing. Yeah, you always want to be in a triangle.
And then just across the road, you've got Royce Hill, which is kind of the vineyard of kind of notoriety. There is Balantia, means balance. But then on Gimlet, you've got kind of the likes of Trinity Hill, also Craggy Range, and a whole load of other vineyards.
I see. So they go under
notoriety, kind of all share that kind of area, that parcel of land, and obviously Craggy Range own an eighth, so they're quite a dominant player there.
The question is though, is this wine any good?
Well, we're just about to find out. Now this is Merlot, which it took a battering after the film Sideways,
didn't it?
It did, but you get really good value for money with Merlot, so it tends to be cheaper because kind of it's not sold in as much in large quantities as say Pinot Noir, but it's like handcrafted. Craggy Range got like 22 little parcels of Merlot, and they kind of pick from this because they've got another label as well called Wild Rock.
Yeah.
So anything that doesn't make the top label, which is their prestige release, which is they've got the Quarry and Sophia, then gets kind of earmarked for this, and anything that's not good enough for this gets earmarked for Wild Rock, and then anything that's not good enough for Wild Rock they tend to get rid of. And so what they do is they blend it up in these little parcels, and they kind of sample it, and then they pick which ones they're going to blend together. Kind of 30 months kind of maturation in oak, and then they also add like Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc to it as well, but not enough to kind of need to put it on the label, because you get a 15% tolerance before you need to state the other grapes.
Okay.
Which I would really like to see, and this is I've got two rants inside me today.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to those. Should we get our noses?
We'll get our noses. Yeah.
Very spicy, kind of peppery on the nose.
It's also a dusty. For me, it's got a dusty kind of character, kind of redolent of kind of briar and bramble, and then you get this kind of
something found in the attic.
Plum.
The dusty old leather-bound book.
There may be a bit of leather there as well. But then you get this kind of...
Favourite moment from Sideways. Gets his nose and he goes, like a stinky cheese.
Yes. And sometimes you do get that, right?
Yeah.
And this, I get a bit more kind of dust, and
Yeah.
it does remind me of the place where it's grown.
Okay.
That's the third rant I've got inside me. I've just picked up the other one.
Yeah,
We've got a
see
lot
how
of
we
rants,
go
right?
for time, yeah.
So then I get this kind of dark Doris Plum, blackberry, cassis character.
Wow. Quite a big Merlot, really. Bigger than I was expecting. Not as mellow as I was expecting.
It's 2010, so still really youthful. But I do get that lovely, big, plump, ripe
Really
fruit
fruity, eh?
at the front.
Yeah.
Goes on, a little bit of grip. Now, this is going to last about 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So we're hitting it pretty early. So there's a lot more that's going to happen with this wine over the next kind of 3 to 4 years before it starts hitting its straps. I really like that plumpness. It's quite full. It's got just enough grip in your mouth to feel like it's got some structure, and then you've got this kind of acid that kind of runs through, that kind of all the fruit hangs off this coat hanger. And I really like it.
It's nice.
It's nice.
What,
That's such a
it's a good wine.
soft word.
What price point?
We're sitting at the kind of like $25 mark.
Yep.
So, and I think you get really good value for money at that price point.
Okay, cool. Transit of Venus this week. You see it?
I didn't think we had the weather for it, so I didn't look out the window at the right time, obviously.
In Auckland, half an hour, well, it's sort of central Auckland, half an hour window at about 11 o'clock. Amazing. And so cool to share it with fellow humans. You know, we were looking at this thing out in space, this dot in front of the sun, with our own eyes through the solid glasses, clear as day.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And, surprisingly so, it was this definite dot in front of the sun, and I was just blown away, and everyone around me was like sharing the glasses around, and everyone was having a good old time just sharing this thing out in space as humans together. It was amazing.
I shared something on a similar level, but it's a bit more frequent, and that's the International Space Station. I saw it on Sunday and Monday, clearly going across the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got told where to look.
Yeah. Just after sunset?
Just after sunset. It's kind of it's been between 5:30 and 6 o'clock, basically.
Yeah.
And it is very definite.
So you got an app that will tell you?
No, I've got someone on Twitter who tells me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's even easier, right?
Yeah.
And it tells you there is an app that you can get to tell you when it's coming across, but kind of it's much more reliable if someone just tweets you every day of when it's going to be.
Yeah.
And so that was good. Rants. Let's get rants.
Well, there's a link been going around the past 24 hours on social media, Twitter and Facebook, to a blog post from nontoxicnest.wordpress.com titled "Not Very Free Range Eggs." Now, a picture of the Woodland 15 free range eggs carton, which I purchased this week from the supermarket. And occasionally, just depending on price, I'm always looking for the free range, and sometimes it's the Woodland package that stands out. It makes me feel good. It makes me think.
I've never even seen it.
Never seen it?
No, never seen it.
Definitely there. They've got their own sort of stand there with the eggs. But so apparently, Woodland eggs are owned by Glen Park, or the Glen Park brand, which in turn is owned by Mainland Poultry. That's the company that owns the largest battery hen sheds in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, they've got these battery hens. On the other hand, they're saying that they've got these free range eggs. Now, a little bit of further digging, according to this blog post, on the package for Woodland eggs, it says Woodland premium eggs are more than ordinary free-range eggs. They are produced by hens which spend their days exploring, foraging, dust bathing under the shade and security of their own woodland environment. Sounds lovely, doesn't it?
It's picturesque.
Situated in New Zealand's beautiful South Island, the Glen Park free-range farm has 24 hectares of pasture, dotted with hundreds of evergreen and deciduous trees. It is from this idyllic environment that your Woodland free-range eggs are gathered daily and distributed around New Zealand and overseas, under nice sunshine and all that. So that's what they say. The consumer organisation says minimum standards for free-range egg productions are set in the Code of Welfare for Layer Hens. It sets maximum indoor stocking densities for free-range production, 10 birds per square metre squared, but there are no rules prescribing the size of their outdoor range area or maximum flock numbers. The Post goes on to say that woodland eggs come from a flock of 8,000 hens. That's less than some companies, but it's still a huge number of animals. Hamish Sutherland, Mainland Poultry's general manager, admits that some hens will never set foot outdoors. Friends Free Range...
They're scared? Agoraphobic?
Well, apparently, so the SPCA chief executive, Robin McDonald, also agrees with this. He says many free-range hens are in barns all their lives, only eating grain. Consumers are being cheated if they think every free-range egg is equal. They certainly aren't going to get the beneficial flavours and colour of yolk from the big flocks. Many big producers keep thousands of birds in one barn and just a tiny exit at one end, and aggressive birds tend to guard the door. So if you're a passive sort of hen, you're not going to be able to get outside because...
It's like the school bully, right?
Exactly. So the final, reading further down the Post, the final nail in the coffin for my consumer of woodland eggs days is the fact that they dye their chicken feed with beta-carotene in order to produce eggs with bright orangey yellow oaks.
Geez.
Now, I'm just reading this from the blog post, right? So I'm just going by what the blog post here is saying. But what it does suggest is that the woodland 15 free-range eggs carton isn't exactly what it says it purports to be inside.
And that's my problem, right? I think we need clear labelling and tougher labelling laws.
Yeah.
Right? And that brings me back to the wine as well. I think that's abhorrent. I think that it's either free range or it's not, right?
Because the whole free range thing's obviously now a marketing thing for companies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
and they can
absolutely.
bump the price
Right.
up a little bit. And yet back at the farm, it's not.
It hasn't changed.
Nothing's changed very much. And as consumers, we're trying to do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
We want to make
We're
sure
voting
that
with our pockets and wallets,
Yeah.
right? And yet
the companies are still cheating us.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
With the wine, I would like to see, clearly what's the ingredients in the wine, because we're being cheated there as well, right? We should know what's in our bottle.
Yeah.
Right? Most people think it's just grape juice fermented into alcohol, right? But there's chemicals added left, right and centre to shape the wine to the way the winemaker wants it to be, right? Or if they've got bad fruit, then to kind of cover up and mask.
Yeah.
Right? Also, this 15% tolerance is crap.
Yeah.
It should be 100%. You've got to state what's in that bottle, right? So that the consumer knows what's in that bottle, whether it be grapes or whether it be chemicals.
Yeah.
Because most people think that
We
they're
wanna
drinking
know.
a healthy product despite the alcohol.
We want to know these
We
things.
want to
don't
know it, and it's our right to know, and it's
Yeah.
our right to kind of to find out and have access to knowing.
And right across the board, and this is where government is absolutely weak in this area. We want our food labelling accurate as to where it comes from, all the various ingredients that make it up, whether or not it's GE or whatever's inside. Right from fresh produce. Personally, I'd like to know where all my vegetables come
But
from.
I don't want to. I don't
I want
want
to know where
to.
my fish comes from. I want to know the boat that the fish came
Yeah,
from.
no, I agree.
And
But I
these- all
don't
these things
want
are
little
possible.
plastic stickers on every piece of fruit telling me where it comes
No,
from.
just I want the
I
accurate
want-
signage. All
I want the accurate signage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't need to be cheated. Why? Why should we be cheated?
I agree. We're paying for it. We can choose to pay, and like most people with those woodland eggs, are thinking they've been doing the right thing by buying free range,
And-
when in reality it's far
Exactly.
removed from
free range.
from that beautiful description of the 24 hectares that are allowed to roam.
And
in.
obviously, it's a scandalous company that runs it. And in this age of sort of free information and internet and information freely available, these
Things come out,
companies,
right?
Things come out,
But also there's a double-edged sword as well. When we get it back into a bit of balance, that I do a lot of blogging, and I've been fed some information that hasn't been entirely accurate, and I've not finished my research and done it thoroughly enough and been called out. So we need to be aware that sometimes articles do not tell the full kind of truth and picture. But a lot of people who are blogging are not doing it for money.
Yeah.
They're doing it to let other people know. And so there's a big difference between PR and blogging, right, from a personal point of view.
Yeah.
Right, and so I think that I'm more likely to believe a blog than I am a media release.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a piece of marketing.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
marvellous to share another glass of wine.
And very good wine it was too.
And to talk over these matters. Unscrewed.co